Our question one: what are the top 4 worst looks of all time?
Ooh, bad looks. There's a lot of them.
I actually have like a couple extra.
Oh, me too. Okay.
I mean,
why don't you start?
like
It's your show.
Okay, all right. I didn't do anything with this protest, like the guys
Me neither.
holding the Confederate flag at the Capitol building, which is obviously a bad look. I think that might even be how we thought of this. Like, wow, this is a bad look. Oh, we should do top bad looks.
I think it was
So I didn't
just
include
Trump,
anything
the way
like that.
Trump handled it. Yeah.
The way Trump handled a terrible look, of course. My number one is from the world of sports, and this is probably my most memorable sports moment of my life. 2018 NBA Finals, Game 1, Cavs versus Warriors. The Warriors have Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the Cavs don't have Kyrie anymore. The Warriors are huge favorites. In Game 1, the Cavs are on the road, and if they're in the game, it's tied, and they have a free throw to win the game with like 4 seconds left. I think it was George Hill shoots the free throw, misses it. They could steal Game 1 on the road, but J.R. Smith gets the rebound, and all he's got to do is put a little hook up, a little layup to win the game on the buzzer. And he runs out to half court, dribbling the ball, thinking that they were up. And LeBron screams at him. He tries to pass it, and then they go into overtime and lose. And I think they got swept,
amazing.
or it was.
It just destroyed
Gentlemen.
I was. Oh yeah, was it 4-1 that series?
I think so.
I will never forget that moment. I was watching it by myself on the couch drinking wine, and I was appalled. It was such a bad look. A professional athlete not knowing the score in the NBA Finals in an intense moment. Like, the one thing I know from playing basketball is like when free throws come, it's time to like, all right, check the score. I got shooter. I'm gonna box out the shooter. Like, someone get back. Like, it's kind of time to resettle.
Yep.
And J.R. Smith, known for being kind of a dummy. Like,
known for being like he's claimed that he's like smoked before games.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on,
he's a
dude,
super talented athlete, very good player, great shooter, good dunker.
Yep.
Just not like a.
And
just imagine what he was thinking of before, like the shot went up. Like, what was going through his mind? Like,
yo, we got this. We're winning. He must have thought. No. He had to think we were winning.
But
he's a professional athlete. He's a professional athlete performing at the peak of athletics and the peak of competition. And like, he was in the game because he was doing well. Like, the guy can shoot the lights out. Like, he was thinking. He was thinking we're up. He was thinking we're up.
Right, but he's also like clearly not locked in. Like, it's one thing if this was like
because he was wrong.
If this was like, no teams
third quarter,
and it was like even if it was like fast break after fast break, and it's like heat of the moment, it was dead ball. So like, even if you were like kind of scatterbrained, you look up at the clock, you see the situation.
In college basketball, the Fab Five, Michigan, Chris Webber's famous moment, calling a timeout. That's bad. This is worse. This is worse. I understand like the instincts of calling a timeout when you're trapped. Like, oh, we forgot we didn't have any timeouts. This is much less understandable. It's such a bad look for an athlete, and it's almost like diminishes everything for the kids out in the parking lot playing basketball, like who want to dream to be an athlete. This guy just didn't know the score. It was a bad look.
As much as I dislike LeBron, I did love his like one thing I give him credit for. He's a great player, great athlete, and he clearly is so invested and cares so much. And he looked like he was in tears. He was like,
it's funny because there was
all that game. He scored like 60, 50.
No, actually, I watched this many times. There was like 4 seconds left when he got the rebound. LeBron and he started dribbling out. The first second, LeBron actually thought, "Shit, I think I had the score wrong," because he was kind of like this, and then he looked at the clock and he's like, "Ball." And then, like, for the first second, LeBron was confused, and there was only 4 seconds. LeBron was like, "Oh wait, did I have the score wrong?" It was such a bad look for any athlete.
And again, he's claimed that he used to claim that he like smokes before games, so he was better high. So like this just maybe that's
he should have got high, like whatever.
And then also his reaction, he was like just like mouth open, like.
I think like when he sat on the bench. I think when he sat on the bench though, it started to weigh on him a little bit.
He's like, oh shit, yeah.
And oh my god, the tweets, it was such a bad look.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Do you know? No, you know what? I'll go with Rudy Gobert. Beginning of this year.
Oh, that's a good one, dude.
Such a bad look. So this
was, my god! Like I could see myself doing that
because we didn't before coronavirus. I mean, that was the day.
Yeah, lay it out.
Everything. Yeah. So the day that everything became real with the coronavirus here. Before this, it was all something that happened overseas. Even in Europe, it was like, okay, this is a little bit more real, but the virus has not come to the United States, or so we thought. And then during or right before the Jazz. I forget who the Jazz were playing. Maybe Oklahoma
Thunder.
City. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And turns out that two players, or Rudy Gobert himself, had tested positive for coronavirus. So games were canceled. Like
no. Talk about the locker room. Was that after? Okay.
That was after. So we got a notification from ESPN. NBA has suspended all games indefinitely, and that I remember my heart like dropping. Like, oh my god,
Me too.
Life is changing. I've never seen anything like this. And then after the fact, it turns out like Rudy Gobert was getting an interview, and that had happened before the game. That happened like the day before. I thought. But questions were revolving around the coronavirus. Do you think it's going to be a big deal? Blah, blah, blah. And he was downplayed it, said, no, it's no big deal. And on his way out, as a joke, he was like, oh, like licked his hands and started touching all the microphones and water bottles. And was like, oh, I'm going to get you guys coronavirus. Come to find out, he's the first notable person to have coronavirus. And life changed forever after that. It was such a bad look.
Dude, I could like see myself doing something like that.
And they actually hated each other. They wanted to fight
each
other.
Of course.
That's such a bad luck with how everything turned out with the coronavirus. He said
obviously he didn't know,
the journalists were kind of egging him on, asking him about it, and he didn't like do it at first, but the journalists are annoying. I'm sure right. They were egging him, and so finally he was just he literally went to the microphone and went touched everything like now you're all gonna
so such a
and
bad
then
luck.
his superstar teammate ended up getting it.
Right.
Like
a year later, 2 million people dead.
Like you can look at that as like for me, that's like the catalyst. That's when everything changed was the NBA, and he is the reason for it. And the optics of him having done that as a joke, like it was just such a bad look. Yeah.
It's funny how both of our first ones were in sports.
I know.
But that's a good one. That is a good one. Replaying that. I think he had to have come out and make a formal apology and all that stuff.
Of course. And then he got it and he was like sick. But
of course,
he probably overplayed that a little bit, because he was like, oh, I'm really sick. So people didn't hate him that much. Because, all right, you get what you deserve. But that was bad luck. Bad luck.
Bad luck. Good one. All right. My number 2 is my probably favorite news story of the past decade.
I think I have this
for some reason. You think you know? I mean, I guess I got some backups, but I don't know. I'm going with it. I don't know if you know. Jussie Smollett.
Yep.
Is that what you thought it was?
Yep.
Dude, I'm taking this one because I love this story. I love it so much because the whole conversation about race, like my personal take on it is very simple. It's that skin color doesn't matter and everything can run through that filter. Other things matter, but skin color doesn't. And I just hate the idea of America being a racist country, all that stuff. And we won't need to go there. But he is one of these very virtuous people that's like, fight for our rights and all. It's like, and he's an actor. So he plays into that role of the social justice king. And I never knew who he was before this. A lot of people didn't. And it blew and he faked his getting beat up by 2 Trump supporters in Chicago in the middle of the night with hats on. And he said they poured bleach on him and put a noose around his neck. So I guess I understand the noose reference because like slavery and lynching, but I never understood the bleach reference. And I guess were they trying
white?
It turns his skin to white.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it was very much written by like a corny network TV writer type situation. Yeah. And then when the police went to interview him at his house, he had the noose like still around him and they're like, yo, you could take that off, man. And then he goes on with Robin Roberts on ABC and puts on an amazing performance.
Great. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Amazing performance. It is well thought out. It is emotional at the right times. And like to the people who think this why? And like I never could register. It was a big thing for me because I looked at it as kind of a win for my viewpoint about how skin color doesn't matter and like I never triggered like becoming a victim on purpose to get notoriety. I never, that was like something my brain had to process for a little bit and it really confused me. He wanted to get beat up by 2 Trump supporters so that he could play the victim card in order to like get more fame. And that took a long time for me to process. Like, and by a long time, I mean like a couple days and talking to people about it. Like, and I guess I kind of get it. Like he because he was always talking about this justice, and if he had his own personal story to tie to it, it would make it more credible. And he, with Martin Luther King, and like he could be one of those people painted on a mural that overcame hatred. Like that's what he was going for. And like I love the fact that it actually didn't happen to him. And then the other hilarious part is how bad it was written out. He got his
he paid.
He could have just said it. Like,
right. I don't understand that part. I guess he was afraid, like, oh, this we'll have it on camera.
Okay, but the two guys on camera are black.
I know, dude. It was the worst.
And then the actual like legal bad part about it, like all that stuff is like whatever. But the bad part was he had the Chicago police on the taxpayer's dime looking for two men. Like that was actually what he got in trouble for. You're allowed to fake shit if you want. It's not against the law. But when you lie to a police officer, that's obstruction of justice. Like, and that's when it got into legal trouble. And then it was so easy to trace the crime. They had the two guys buying the supplies on a camera at the store. They had the check.
Didn't he write something in the? He like wrote something in the memo. Like
I don't know. I don't know about
Dude,
that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And like. The check is very traceable because if you go to your bank account, you click on it, it brings up the image of the check. Like if you went to the ATM, got cash out, gave him cash, you can't trace that. Right. Like a check. First of all, who the fuck has checks anymore? Right. I get mad every time I lay my eyes on a check. The last time I seen a check was digging through my drawers to find one for Brandon. And that was last podcast. Yeah. Did you ever dig through my drawers to find that?
I know you're not a huge Dave Chappelle fan. Have you ever seen his bit on this?
I have, but refresh my memory what his take was on it.
He's like, the reason, like a lot of the white people that heard this story that are on the left were like outraged, but you didn't hear a whole lot from the black community because he's like, we heard this story and we were like, something doesn't smell right. He's like, all right, so you went out at 2 a.m. and where were you going? This is the police. He's like, we're going to Subway. It's like sandwiches, okay, and you were walking. He's like, yeah, and these two white guys.
It was so cold, by the way. It was so cold.
These two MAGA guys came up to me with hats on and said, "You're that," because he's gay too.
Yeah,
right. Saying, like, you're that F word, N word from Empire. And he's like,
"Why would they watch Empire?
How would they know?" He's like, Chappelle's like, "That doesn't sound right. That sounds like something I would say." Like, oh, what? And it was like straight on his mouth. And he's like, "We all knew that sounded fishy."
Yeah.
But regardless, what a.
And then like, this is MAGA country. Like that's not a thing that they would say. Right. And also like, why would they be in Chicago in the middle of the night and recognize him?
And this was in Chicago. Like,
and they didn't know he would, like, did these guys just walk around with a noose and a thing of bleach at all times in case they see a famous gay black person? Like, because there's other gay black people too.
Right.
Like it didn't add up. And the reason I liked the story was because I thought it was unifying as far as people who like are conservative, they're like, see, there is no racism. People who might think there is racism are like, damn, I guess there like isn't as much as we thought. And then even black people are like, dude, I'm not with him. Like this makes us look bad. So I thought it was like a unifying moment where like everyone's just like, dude, this is so stupid.
It's weird, like to see people shoot
it's a bad look
in the foot like that, like out of nowhere too. Like this wasn't prompted. Nobody asked him a question. He just out of nowhere, poof, this idea came into his head, and he just completely destroyed himself. Yeah, I respect
the effort as far as trying to manufacture an event that looked natural in order to increase his fame. Like that takes balls, dude. Yeah. That takes balls. So I respect that element of it, but it is one of the worst looks ever. It's
the most flawed execution of a plan of all time.
He didn't think anything through. Crime. Like he has to have a weird ego to think.
This is a plan that came together and it seemingly came together in 35 seconds, but had to have been way more premeditated, where he had time to figure out the details. Just an awful look.
And let me wrap up with how much I love this story. When I went to Chicago, and I went after this, I spent one entire afternoon with Shelby, my brother, and his girlfriend with one objective, and it was to find the Subway that Jesse Smollett went to. It's not, I searched throughout the entire internet. I had to like do some detective work. I had to look up where the story was. I tried to find a police report. I think I found it. And I went into the Subway, and I was going to ask the lady if this was it. And like, I did all this work to find it. And the lady was there was a little bit of a line, and the lady was so snotty that like, I was like, oh, I'm not going to ask it. But I think I found it. I think I found the subway. I should have asked. God damn, looking back now as I'm saying this out loud, I should have just asked her.
I can't believe you didn't, but
I can't believe I didn't either. Now that I'm saying this out loud,
but I also wouldn't have spent an entire afternoon. I would have just gone to Subway.
But I already spent the entire afternoon.
Right.
Like, it was kind of fun. It was like detective work, and we were in Chicago, and we were like, look, just kind of trying to explore the city anyway.
Yep.
But I thought it was a very unifying story, and it was such a bad look, and he will obviously like never be able to recover from this.
Right.
And it had the opposite. It had kind of an effect that he wanted, as far as he is very more famous now than he ever would have been, but not what he wanted.
Employable now.
Yeah, and as far as his bank account, it's not good. It's probably not good as far as like getting more shows and getting like speaking arrangements. Like he never is going to have credibility again.
Absolutely.
He should do like admit that he was wrong and like kind of like a recovery situation, like kind of like what Lance Armstrong did. That's the approach he should take.
Cross that one off the list, I guess.
No, okay.
But Lance, I would say no. I have a bunch. So, but that was one. There's a few that are kind of in the same vein. But really quick, Lance Armstrong that was a terrible look.
That was one of yours?
Yeah, I mean it was on my list. Yeah, it was a terrible look.
Wow.
Because he went from like martyr, or he went from like hero.
That just popped out of my mouth. I didn't think of that one.
But yeah, that's a great one. I had that as well. That was an unbelievable story, and
unbelievable story.
Like you said, it was unifying. Everybody can agree that guy's an asshole.
Yeah. That's mine. That's my second one.
So this is a recent one, number 2 for me. Ilaria Baldwin. Do you know this?
I don't know a lot about it. Inform me.
Okay, so
Alex Baldwin's wife, right?
Alec Baldwin. Yeah, his wife is this like Spanish woman, yoga instructor, very exotic. She has gone on all these cooking shows. I've seen clips of her. Anyway, she's from Spain.
Does she have an accent?
Big time accent.
Okay.
Her name's Ilaria, spelled like Hillary because her name's Hillary Baldwin. She was born in Boston, grew up in Massachusetts. She does not have an accent. None of her family is Spanish. Like she has family that lives in Spain, but she vacationed there and spent time there. She's not Spanish. There's video of her on like doing like cooking demonstrations on like the Today Show where she's talking. She's like, "Can you pass me how you say in English cucumbers?" And she's like pretending she doesn't speak the language. Turns out she's just a normal girl from Boston who wanted to be famous and wanted to like seem exotic. And
actually didn't really know this. I didn't know this.
Her parents are both.
I saw some headline with her recently, like something about her being fake, but I didn't dive into it. Wait, so she's born in Boston.
Yep. Raised in Boston. All of her family is none of her family lived in.
But like,
her parents retired to Spain after the fact, and she could have just been like, "Oh, I spent time. We vacationed in Spain." You know.
And her name is Hillary Baldwin, and I don't actually know what she looks like off the top of my head. Is she white?
Yes, but
because some Spanish people are white. People from Spain are white.
She's more tan than like a white Spanish person.
Okay. So it works saying she's from Spain.
She pulled it off flawlessly.
She's not saying she's from Mexico or like Brazil. She's saying
even
she's from Spain.
If she said she was Mexican, it would be believable. And her accent, I've heard all these Spanish people say flawless. Her Spanish.
So my question would be, when did she start pulling this heist off? And like Boston, Apakia Khan Havajad, like
I know.
Like how did it come out? And there's clearly must be any footage of her from the past. And like, how did it come out? What happened to make the story?
TMZ just like I don't know how they were tipped, but they figured it out. I don't know.
Did she talk different at home? Like, or did she?
Interview to interview, she did. There's some interviews where her accent's strong, others where it's not, and then even some that she goes in and out of it, which is bizarre. But the weird thing to me, so she was, I think, a model, so it makes sense. I understand her motive behind doing this because she wanted to be like exotic and different. She's like, there's like interviews of her talking about her family in Spain, and she's like visibly excited. And
you said she cooked a Mexican dish or a Spanish dish on the Today Show.
I don't know if it was a Spanish dish, but she pretended she didn't know the word for cucumber. She's like, how you say in English cucumbers? And she talks like this, and she has a very, very thick accent, but she's just from Boston. And what I don't get is, how did this not get exposed sooner? Like, she has to have people that knew her in Boston. She's high profile. She's Alec Baldwin's.
Like, I was gonna say, she's like not as high profile as Alec Baldwin, so she probably went under the radar like a little bit, but still high profile.
So
like, I never knew she was.
Knew about the act. He knew like the act.
Well, of course he knew. I would assume.
I don't know.
What if she tricked Alec?
It seems like she did. It seems like he didn't know, but I don't know. That's speculation. But regardless, like if you try to pull this off, don't you think somebody from your life or your high school would be like,
it is so hard to pull off.
Taylor Swift's husband is not Spanish. He went to Plymouth White Marsh High School. No, like this is not
right.
True. How did that not happen yet? I don't get that.
It's so elaborate, and it must be so. It must be so exhausting. Mm-hmm. The easiest thing for her to do would be actually change her accent, and then like if she's talking differently at home. It's very interesting. And this is something I would have much more trouble understanding before my brain processing the Jussie Smollett stuff. I process it quicker now than I would have in the past.
And this goes along with...
It's a bad look.
There's another one. Yeah, bad look. Bad look.
Don't
I'll let
be
you go.
fake. Yeah. Okay. All right. My third one is very simple, and it's a different take on how we're doing this. Everyone's been wearing masks lately because of the virus, but the people who wear the plastic face shields, I cannot stop laughing at them every time I see one.
I love it. I
think it's such a bad look. I think it's such a bad look. Like, I think, and I tried to like take the bad look thing and interpret it in a different way. Like every time I see someone with it, I'd like giggle because it's like, oh, like I've gotten used to people with regular masks. Like, but when I see one of those, and then also, I'm no fucking expert, but like, doesn't it seem like it could get underneath it?
Yeah, I don't think it
like
does.
It
can't be as effective.
So let me use something less effective that's way more goofy and cartoonish. Right. And I think I just think it like looks bad.
With a mask and the face shield combined.
Okay, I mean
that
super. Is hilarious. Like it's kind of like when I saw that girl kick. I was like,
yeah.
I just do. And there's not enough of them where like I've adjusted to it yet. So every time I see someone with it, I laugh, and it's like a big ass thing on your face, and like I just think it looks bad, and I wanted to interpret something differently. And
I love. Yeah.
Go ahead. You go.
The first time I saw it was Andy Reid, the first NFL game this year, and it was like rainy and kind of foggy.
And he doesn't wear it anymore.
Like a fat guy, but he did, and
he did.
It would.
He looks so dumb.
Fogging up. It wouldn't stop fogging up. So he's like soaking wet, and he keeps wiping it down, and he's just like, Andy Reid's kind of like
he needs a little windshield wiper.
It was so funny because you could tell he's like you feel like he has barbecue sauce on his fingers, so he can't do it because Andy Reid's like a fat slob. So like he's just like a little kid who can't do anything about it. Oh, I love this so much. I love it.
Man,
he looks.
I love Andy Reid. No. I mean that in the most endearing way possible.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But
dude, he's a fat slob, and he's like his kid's like a druggie my point is he's obsessed with football.
His kid
overdose.
Right.
He's not the best dad. He's not the most healthy guy. He is just sitting there every day, shoving food in his face, watching film, coaching football. Football is all he knows. Like, so he just someone's like, what's the corona? He probably popped out of the playbook like, what's the coronavirus? They're like, just put this on, and then it's like, yeah, look. But we'll move on from this one. I just wanted to interpret it differently. But I have one other thing in this realm, and it's just wearing jeans to the gym. I think that just like it just looks bad, and I want to interpret it differently.
I'll say jeans with a blazer. I've done it before. I hate that look.
I think it has its place.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, but that's mine.
So mine is like an event that happened. I'm sure you remember Ashley Simpson on SNL. It's like one of the worst.
I was thinking about that one.
Terrible look. She got caught. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, she got caught lip syncing. She had played the song "Pieces of Me," which was a hit. Ashley Simpson was like on a trajectory because her sister was famous.
She was,
and her
she
sister
had some
was
radio songs.
Who? Ashley Simpson. Pieces of Me is a jam, and her sister was like rising because she was on the Newlywed Show, whatever it was called, with Nick Lachey. And then so they first come out, they play Pieces of Me, they kill it, her band, everything's great. And then she goes out for her second song and she's going to sing a different one, and the band starts playing the music for the second song, but the vocal track for Pieces of Me plays again. So she's there caught red-handed lip syncing, and she doesn't know what to do. She's looking around and she starts like doing this awkward dance and like a little jig, and everybody knows what's going on, and it took like the crowd a little bit to realize it, but that was like a huge deal. I feel like it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Dude, right. I was just about to say, I agree that that's a bad look, mostly based upon, one, how she handled it. She like ran off stage. She did literally a jig. And then she did a jig, and that's a perfect word to describe it. And then she ran off stage. I think everyone learned like around then that all performances do have lip syncs. Sure. And like, it makes sense. What they do is they play it in the background like faintly, and then the microphone works though. Like Mariah Carey, like will have the little faint background, but it makes sense for a live performance to have that playing. And then you can kind of, because even a lot of radio songs, they have like 2 tracks over them.
Mhm.
It'll have like the song or the chorus, and then they'll hit a big note. And like, does the people think that they're doing those things simultaneously? It's impossible. So for a live
I would think
performance,
so.
it makes sense.
I mean, I don't like it. I think disingenuous. I'd rather see a band or a performer like. Not
But if
sound
you
quite as
see
good
them hit
live.
the high note, it doesn't mean that the high note's fake. Like, they are singing. It's just for
Well,
like continuity in a
does.
live performance.
But it does mean it's fake. Like if you see Adele
like,
or Sia or Lady
what
Gaga,
they're
they're
singing
singing
into the
live.
microphone is real.
Right, but you're not hearing it.
But they might have.
What you're hearing
But
is pre-recorded. Lip syncing is like it's a big time fraud.
I think there's a difference between lip syncing and playing a little bit of the audio track lightly underneath it for a live performance. And if you're up there with a microphone in your hand and you're literally like moving your mouth but having no noise come out, that's fraudulent.
That's not. Well, you're still singing, but what is playing on the speakers is not your live vocals. It's like pre-recorded track.
So what I accept,
bullshit.
What I accept is some pre-recorded sound in the background that is vocals, but every single microphone sound that's coming is real. Okay. And like that background is just kind of for like, right? True.
Like
I guess you're right. Lip syncing is moving your mouth without sound coming out,
but
and that's
not
fraudulent.
even. You can sing
or turning the mic off.
Right. That's basic. That's what it is.
Okay.
And
I'm saying as long as the mic on, I'm good with it.
Sure. Right, but that's not like. Okay, I understand what you're saying. That's not like lip sync. I think every performer has that for timing or whatever. But
so in Ashley Simpson's first performance of Pieces of Me, was she lip syncing?
Yes, the same.
Okay, and then it exposed that in the second song. And dude, I agree that was a bad look. Like I actually thought about putting that on my list because how epic it was. Family Guy mocked it.
That big of a deal?
So many people mocked it. I agree. This actually happened to Mariah Carey 2 New Years ago. And it was so worse than Ashley Simpson because she stayed out there like, did you see that, Mariah Carey?
No, I would thought you were talking about when they exposed her actual vocals. Have you heard that? Where like they isolated what she was actually singing? Ooh.
No. On New Year's Eve, the ABC broadcast, I think 2018, Mariah Carey was one of the headline performers, and she came out for a 7-minute thing with full background dancers, and she didn't say a word. She stood there like this. I guess something went wrong. I don't know if it was not the song she expected, but she literally stood on stage for 7 minutes, like sluggishly, like she said, "Happy New Year's." And then she's like said to the crowd, like, "Why don't you guys sing?" And the funniest part about it was the 7 background dancers performed flawlessly. They kept going like with her whole little dance and everything. And like she punted on the entire performance. And I don't know what the story was. And apparently she didn't show up to rehearsal. But that was another example of a live performance going wrong. And on that performance, there was a little bit of her vocals in the background. Her mic worked though, because she was saying like,
right,
sorry about this. Like it was a very embarrassing 7 minutes. It was a more embarrassing 7 minutes than Ashley Simpson, but I feel like the Ashley Simpson thing was a bigger deal because she, and what part of it was she ran off stage.
And she had a show. She had her own reality show at the time that was being filmed. And it
ruined her career.
Yeah, her career was over after that.
And for some reason, it was a bad look. Yeah, bad look. That's a good one.
Really bad.
I thought about doing that. All right, my fourth one is not a huge stand-up comedy fan. I like podcasts. My favorite person that is a comedian is Chris D'Elia, and he always has been. And he had a podcast that came out, and I like the performances that he's done as an actor. Like I've seen him do little roles. Justin Bieber likes him. He was on the Justin Bieber roast. He's slowly like climbed up to fame. And my favorite thing about his
I've seen him live. I saw him live.
He was funny in Workaholics.
Where he was all right, hold on that. And I love Chris D'Elia. And my favorite thing about Chris D'Elia actually is that his podcast came out. I liked it, and Shelby also liked it. So like me and her, we don't listen to a lot of the same stuff. Me and her like both like Chris D'Elia. That made me like him more because Shelby, doesn't. There's just something about Chris D'Elia that I love. He's so funny. He's goofy. He's stupid. I love Chris D'Elia. So recently it came out that he had interactions and sexual stuff with like 16, 17-year-old young girls. And 2 things about it were a bad look. One is since those accusations came out, he has not said one word publicly. He has not made one tweet, one Instagram post. He literally went silent. And like he would be the perfect type of person to provide some funny commentary on this topic. It's not the same as Louis C.K., because Louis C.K. always makes jokes about masturbating, gets in trouble for masturbating in front of someone.
It also wasn't kids. That's the big thing.
Right. Like Louis C.K. is the perfect joke for like
pervert,
what he.
And that was weird, really weird. And
kids is always a weird topic.
This is
right.
This is,
and now,
I mean, there's no gray area there.
I mean, I always, I mean, there's a difference between 12 and like a girl that's turning 18 in a month. Either way, but he's like 35. It's bad. It's illegal. It's wrong.
Creepy.
And so the first bad look is the fact that he hasn't said a damn word. I would love to know what he's thinking. And he would be funny being like the pity party thing. And the second bad look is the fact that 2 of his biggest roles as an actor are him playing pedophiles.
What's the other one? I know the one in Workaholics.
The Workaholics, he had a show where...
Right.
I never watched the show,
right?
a Netflix show that Shelby watched. It was a show that Shelby watched because it's more for girls. And then when Shelby saw Crystal, right? yes, it was called You. I never watched the show. I think it was a show more focused towards girls. I don't know. Shelby was actually watching it like on her own time. And then she was so excited. You know how when you watch a show and you see an actor you like in it, you're like, it makes you like it even more. Like Shelby was like, Crystal Lee is in it. And Shelby told me about it. Like she didn't tell me about the show You. She told me like Crystal Lee is in the show You. And the fact that he plays a pedophile is so funny because he's a comedian. His role in Workaholics was so funny. Like because playing a pedophile is funny. Like when it's on a TV show.
One's funny. Right.
Playing one's funny on a TV show because it's just a funny ass like thing to mock a little bit in a TV show, especially a super comedic TV show.
Right.
So he has accusations that come out. And there was that clip, the most viral clip was him on a podcast and someone said, someone got in trouble for hooking up with a teacher. And he's like, wait, don't Snapchats go away. And then the producer was like, well, you can record it and screenshot it. And then like they zoom in on him with like the curb music. It was the funniest part. Yeah. So between him playing a pedophile in other TV shows, getting accused of these things, and having most people that get accused of something, they come out and say this isn't true. Like no public thing. It's a bad look as far as the way that he is. It's got to be true.
It's got to be true, and he's like he has now punted on having a career after this, right? He can't come back, man. I mean, he can't.
That's
if he were to have a career, he has to have.
I think this might be what he's thinking, and this might be his best bet. Like his best bet now is to let enough time pass. He is somebody that is like dumb enough and silly enough that might be like forgivable in some route. Unlikely, but like Jesse Smollett
maybe could have pulled it off had he.
Well, he didn't do anything yet. I don't know. Like
that's what I mean.
Jesse Smollett fought in court. Like that makes it worse. I think Crystalia is actually genuinely so heartbroken at home and so sad about this.
He shouldn't be heartbroken. I mean,
no, he should be because he should be. No, he gets pity for me because
you can't get heartbroken.
Dude, I mean, so there is no
we don't really know.
There's no accusations that he had sex.
If they lied, then he could have.
He liked younger women. And there is no.
If they lied, he could have like stuck up for himself.
No, I mean, in like the screenshots of the conversations, there is nothing wrong with a 35-year-old having sex with a 19-year-old, right? I mean, it's legal, and he likes younger women. Like, okay, I mean, he's a kid. He's silly. Like, I could get why he might like a younger girl that's like silly. Like, he's silly. So if he likes younger girls and at his concerts, he kind of like finds the younger girls and like hooks up with them on the road. That's the life of a comic. If they're 19, 20, 21, like that's the girls he likes. Like
they're not 19, 20, 21.
So
these are girls that have like their learner's permit.
No, they were 17 in a few months. 16. I'm not defending it. It's illegal. And it's morally wrong. But on a 17th to 18th birthday, the day before was it moral and the day after was it moral? I mean, the day before it was illegal. The day after it is legal, and it's illegal.
I would say it's still immoral to, but regardless,
and that's fair.
These are like 16-year-olds.
And like 22,
if you're 15, one of them was like 15.
No, dude, they were.
I think so.
They were 17, 18. And all he did was chat with them.
If they were 18, then there's no conversation. They weren't not 18.
Well, you just said it was morally wrong, so like that's bad.
Yeah, but
I don't necessarily disagree, but it's a conversation if she's 17, 19 months, and all he did was like send her a message that said like, "Hey, want to make out my off?" Like is it illegal to do that? I mean,
yes.
I think there's enough innocence there where and I don't, but honestly, I'm giving him this. I don't think that he thinks this. I think that he feels so bad and so guilty and so understanding that what he did was wrong, that he is literally at home thinking, I don't deserve to have a career. And that is the right action to take for him to maybe someday in the future have
could have apologized or said something or
Dude,
denied it.
He has too much shame to even do that.
We'll grow up. Like
he doesn't even care about your opinion or my opinion. He just is so shameful that he doesn't have anything to say. So that, and then my point about that is that those actions are a little possibly forgivable. I think Louis C.K. is a million. I think
16.
Dude,
I'm
I mean,
at one of the girls now,
10th grade.
but it wasn't
grade.
like fucking. It was chats. It wasn't like he fucked him or raped him. It was he was DMing with them, chatting with them. And that's not good. I'm not approving it. I'm not saying it's okay. I don't think that.
Like
I'm just saying I see a potential future path for how much bad that he feels that maybe there could be some forgiveness pass in the future. And I don't even think he sees it. I'm saying for him, maybe there is, but
it just seems like he has no interest. It seems like he has no interest in doing that, right?
Especially, it seems like there's no interest with doing that, right?
And
it's such a bad.
Well, he did
to settle down.
He did. He did. I think
he actually like, as a fan of his who followed his podcast. Well, he was actually married when he was like 24. Chris D'Elia's like 38.
Right.
He was married when he was 34, divorced. Weirdly, want to hear something weird though? As a fan of his, listening to his podcast, talking about his personal life, one day he was like, "I have a daughter," and now he was talking about the birth of his daughter, but like. It was weird. Even Shelby, as a fan, kind of listened to his podcast. You know, he doesn't sit there and talk about his personal life the whole time. But all of a sudden, he's like, "Yeah, I just had a daughter. It's very exciting, and it's crazy when you're a dad and how exciting it is." Like everyone was like, "What?" But it was a bad look as far as in my point of course the accusations are a bad look. I'm saying the not saying anything, and then the fact that he played a pedophile. And his actions are unforgivable. I think Louis C.K.'s actions are forgivable based upon who he is.
Definitely.
Not the same with Chris D'Elia. What were you going to say?
What Louis did was creepy for sure. What Chris D'Elia did was super creepy and like in a way different way.
Possibly illegal.
Plus, I mean, definitely illegal. He's soliciting, but
he's
whatever.
Not in jail.
Soliciting, right.
Because there's a...
the morally wrong part of what he did was take advantage of their innocence.
And like
take advantage of the fact that they were young, using the fact that they're young and naive to his advantage is the moral part that's wrong.
And also that they're in 10th grade. That's so creepy, dude.
I mean,
the fact that like you're trying to...
That sounds terrible in 10th grade. I mean, I'm saying if you're 17 and 364 days, and then...
that's not the case though.
And they're mature and they're developed. And then one day later, the morals there, I can understand.
Different conversation.
Is anything?
I don't think anyone was 15. I don't think anyone was 15.
16.
Okay. All right.
Dude, this isn't 17.999 years old.
I mean, I don't know how old they were. I just know they were like 16, 17 and like whatever. I'm not justifying it. It's morally wrong to take advantage of their innocence for your sexual advantage. I'm not condoning it.
I know. Brandon, what were you saying?
I was like, oh no, I was just saying like, is it forgivable at all?
No, Hacker's the PC police.
No, I'm not the PC. I just think it's super creepy.
Now, can he still be forgiven?
I think if he wanted to, then he should have addressed it. It said something. The fact that he hasn't spoken, like he was a public figure.
See, I know I probably know his personality better than you.
I listen to his podcast every now and then.
I know his personality pretty well.
But you know what's weird? Not a single one of his friends stuck up for him, said anything positive about it. Yeah. They all were like, "This guy lied to us. He's creepy." Like way creepy.
I disagree. They said I don't condone if this is true, and they did distance themselves. But they said in my experience with Chris, he's always a great guy. He's so funny. I love him.
But they haven't heard from him. They're like, yeah, like I'm heartbroken.
Right. I don't think they completely threw him under the bus, but they did distance themselves, and they did say if this is true. I don't condone. They didn't throw him
under the bus, but they definitely were like nobody was like came to bat for him.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone understands. Like, I mean, these are like. What you're saying about 17.9 years old or whatever, that's not what this was. It is 16-year-olds. It's creepy. The guy's almost 40 years old. Like, that's weird.
But we also have to say, like, even with those accusations, if it wasn't true, like, your career is basically ended, true or not. Like,
not if he was like, this is not true.
Dude, I think it was true. I think none of those screenshots were doctored.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like, and there was actually also screenshots that where he said, "How old are you?" She's like 18 or 17. He's like, "That's too young." But then, like, so here's the thing: when you're a comedian, you go road to road. So next time he was in Cleveland, he hit that girl back up, or whatever city. I don't know what's.
I did see one where it's like, "How old are you?" He's like, "Oh, that's too young," and then he like kept talking to her, and he was just saying,
But he wasn't like talking to her sexually, like, let's hook up. He was just chatting. Like, he's silly. Like,
I think
and honestly,
creepy.
what I think he was thinking at that time is 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when I'm on the road back in this city, I now have a contact where I can bang some hot chick that's 22 years old. I think that's probably why he kept the conversation going a little bit. And like, he's just goofy and like.
Agree to disagree.
I think he's. But bad luck. We agree on bad luck.
Bad luck for sure. Big time bad luck. All right, my last one is Lady Gaga wearing that dress made of meat to the award show.
Yo, it's funny we thought about a lot of the same things because I was actually thinking Met Gala stuff and I was thinking what was the worst one.
Terrible. I think that was the VMAs, but she like accepted an award wearing a dress made of meat. There was also, I think the next year she came in an egg. One year she dressed as do you remember there was one year she went to an award show and she was in character as like Joey Boombats or something, and she was like a greaser, like a man, and like she would only be called Joe or Joey. I forget what the last name was.
Dude, we've generally agreed on most of these. Like, I'm gonna disagree. I like the meat. I like the meat
dress, dude. Meat dress.
I think
I'm okay. I love Sia, and I love how she covers her face. The meat dress was just not a good look. Like, it didn't look good.
Okay, yeah.
That's like warm meat. Like sitting down, did you sit on a cloth seat with a meat dress? It was just so gross. So
there actually is a lot of questions about the meat dress, like the smell, the logistically, like the underwear situation, the
slippery.
Like how did it stay? Like and what meat was it? What type of meat was it? I don't have a picture in front of me.
It looked like beef,
like roast beef, because like skinny enough to like attach it.
It was raw. It was raw.
But I don't, like when I think of beef. Like, it wasn't like a meatloaf. It was like the deli.
Steak.
It was like deli. It was maybe we got to put up a picture of this. All right, I'm just gonna real quick Google meat dress.
It was like pieces of flank steak.
Do you like
okay?
Just throw it away afterwards, right?
Like it almost looks like if someone told me that it was like not real meat and it was like images on the dress, I would believe it. I don't know. I like when people do silly shit like that. I dude, she has shoes made out of it. Like.
Yeah,
there's some weird questions there, but okay, that's your bad luck. I mean,
and also
I'm disagreeing. For the sake of disagreeing, I like the meat dress.
Look at the
silliness of it.
Type in Lady Gaga egg. This is another one. I could be convinced of this one. This is
Lady Gaga egg.
She came to an
award show. All right, I'm looking at it, and it's like a giant, like gold egg. I'm looking at the wrong thing, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the wrong thing. She's being carried.
Okay.
She's inside.
Dude, there's more than one result for Lady Gaga egg dress, and like all of them could be what you're talking about.
It's the one where she was like carried around like a pharaoh. But regardless,
dude,
yeah,
I like it. I mean, I like that. That's your answer. I disagree. I think it's a good look, but I'm basically just trying to disagree because it fits her character of doing silly things like that.
It does.
I have one.
All right, Brandon, what's yours?
Y'all ever heard of Rachel Dozar?
Yeah, she pretended to be black, right?
Yeah, I had that one on the list too. Yeah. That was terrible.
That's a good one. Yeah, and my other ones, my honorable mentions were Bill Cosby, being the family man, who then was the world's most serial pedophile, or no, sorry, rapist. That's what I meant, rapist. Obviously, of course, that's a bad look. The celebrity singing Imagine, bad luck. Like, just shut the fuck up. Yes, that's actually what made me think about it, and I didn't put it on my list because I thought you might do that as one of yours. But that was a bad one. And then my last one, I thought about making this because we could really go into it, and we don't need to since it's just an honorable mention. But the Catholic Church and the fact that this specifically, the fact that all those charges come out that little boys, the fact that throughout every mass I've ever been to, there's 2 little boys in a dress on the stage the entire time. The altar boys. That was my specific bad luck about it. There's so many ways you could go about the moral element of we are the family, we are the church, do the right thing, and then they're just like destroying little boys' lives. So much to go there with how it's a bad luck for the Catholic Church. And
Absolutely.
If they were a stock, it peaked so long ago, and it might have a little bump in the future, but like it has permanently declined. And
sell.
Church.
All right, so I had Lance Armstrong. We already talked about Steve Renazizi.
Who's that?
No idea who that is. Sounds like a nice Italian pasta.
The guy from the league. No, he said he was in. He had always claimed that he was in the building in 9/11, and that was a lie. And he stuck with it.
Original.
People asked him
It's
about
like the original
Jussie
Jussie Smollett.
That's like I consider him the Ilaria Baldwin. Brian Williams. Remember Brian Williams?
I mean,
NBC
a lot
News?
of what was his thing?
He said that he was in Afghanistan or something covering troops, and he said that like their helicopter he was in was shot down. Just all of it was fake. He got fired. He used to host nightly news, and now he doesn't.
So basically, I think this boils down to one word: hypocrite. Hypocrite,
or just lie like
habitual liar.
Well, the hypocrite element makes it a bad look. I said this, I believe this, and then, but I did this, and like, ooh, that's a bad look considering you said that.
Yeah, that would be. But like the Steve Renazizi, the Jussie Smollett, I wouldn't say they're hypocrites. I just think they're lying.
Right.
Like, they're lying for clout, lying to be different, and like they're famous, so they probably.
And then like the aha getting caught moment is like the looking back at like all the things they did.
Steve Renazizi handled it perfectly when he got exposed. He went on Howard Stern and like was just 100% honest.
That's the way to do it. Yeah,
you have to. That's how you have to do it.
But we had some good ones. Like we keep coming up with good general things that we can take any way, and it makes good conversation. And those are some good ones. So I enjoyed that.
All
right. Second topic, Brandon. I almost forgot. If you really enjoyed the clip, if you really enjoyed the podcast, one thing I would appreciate more than anything, just hit the little subscribe button. And I have hours and hours of podcast footage talking to some of the best entrepreneurs out there on YouTube. Watch some more of them. Check out this. Go ahead and binge. Have some fun. I love you. Thanks for watching.